Okay, hello guys, welcome to another video tutorial on how to build mobile and web apps without coding. In this particular tutorial, you're going to learn something really interesting, and that has to do with an acronym called CRUD. That's create, read, update, and delete. So if at all you are a software developer, a traditional software developer, you write codes to build softwares, uh, you will definitely be familiar with something called CRUD, which is CRUD, and it's an acronym for create, read, update, and delete. Now, in every single platform or framework that you use in creating mobile applications or web applications, you will have to definitely carry out either of those individual functions, which is either to create a document or create something, or to update something, or to read something from database, or to delete it from database. So I think this is supposed to be one of the very first things that any developer or designer using no code should learn, after of course learning about the introduction to no code. So if you check in the description below, you will see a link to the introduction to FlutterFlow that I created, and if you go through it, you will learn more things about FlutterFlow, the pricing, the features, the documentation, and a lot of things that will definitely make you want to learn how to use FlutterFlow to build mobile and web applications without writing codes. So let's head right into our tutorial for today. We will be learning how to use to implement the create, read, update, and delete functionality within FlutterFlow. All right, so if you don't have an account, also check the link below. You will see a link to create an account with FlutterFlow. Just go ahead and check the description below. All right, but if you have an account already, just go ahead and click on sign in. So I'm just clicking on sign in, and it takes me into the FlutterFlow dashboard, where I will see the list of projects that I have available. All right, and then I will go ahead and start from scratch to create a new project, and then from there we will learn CRUD. Okay, so to create a new project, you have to just click on this button here that says create new, and then I will just click here create new, and upon clicking that, the next thing I just need to do is give my project a name. So I will just call this project CRUD. All right, there's no need giving it a different name. So we will use a blank template. So click here to create a blank template, and then after that, you're expected to click on next step. So you click here, and then you need to provide a Firebase project ID so that you can completely set up your FlutterFlow project. So how do you get your Firebase project ID? Just go to firebase.google.com after signing into your Gmail account, and then after that, come to Google, go to console, and then it will take you to the console for your Firebase, and then there you will be able to create a new project. So you click here to add a new project. Now, Firebase is going to be the database, like where you get to store the information in your project. All right, so we'll just also call this project CRUD. Okay, then I'll click on continue, and then I will turn off the Google Analytics for this project, because it's a practice. We don't need to waste the Google Analytics resources, so just turn it off, and then click on create project. Wait for a couple of seconds, and then we will be done creating a project here. Now, when we are done creating this project, we'll be able to go to settings within Firebase, and then copy the project ID and take it to FlutterFlow. But before we copy the project ID, we will have to go ahead and add Firebase as an editor in FlutterFlow. All right, so let's go ahead and then do it like this. So you come here to this icon, click on project settings, and then go ahead and just copy your project ID. This is your project ID, so you just copy it. See it here, it says project ID, you copy it, and then before you leave here, I know if you can bring it here and paste it now, but let me just show you. If you paste it here and click on connect, it will show you an error here. It says FlutterFlow does not have access to this Firebase account. Please add Firebase at flutterflow.io as an editor. It's very important that you have to add Firebase as an editor. So you have to come to users and permissions and click on that, then click on add member, and then you can go ahead and add Firebase at FlutterFlow Okay, like that. Then you go ahead and change it to editor and click on done and click on add member. You have to make sure that your spellings are correct, otherwise you have to delete it and add it again. So I think so far so good, we are doing fine. Now when you come back here and click on connect, everything should work out fine now. So you see the green check here. Alright, then after that, go ahead and click on auto generate config files. This will allow FlutterFlow to generate some tiny bits of data that is needed to make your application run. Alright, so you know, FlutterFlow basically will be building, will help you build both Android and iOS and web applications. So it has some tiny bits of information, some data that it needs, and since you're definitely doing this without coding, you just need to go ahead and turn on auto configuration, to generate the config files. All right, so then after this we don't want to go on to do authentication, so there's no need to turn it on. And but we will need to create user collections, so we will just turn this on. We can always turn this on later if we want to, but in this particular tutorial we won't be using authentication. All right, so yeah, I think we won't be using authentication, but if at all at some point we change, we can always come back and change it up. All right, let's see. Let's go ahead and click on initial page here. That's this is a page that your users get to see, of course, without signing in. If we turn this on, we will see this particular page, which is for logged in screen. I think we should make this decision right now. Will we allow that? I think we could just allow that. Let's keep it turned on so that we can actually still create authentication. All right. Let's go ahead and then click for the entry page. We are starting everything from scratch. So entry page. All right, so entry page blank. We just want to do some basic setup. Okay, so here is going to be, let's call it landing, maybe landing page or something. All right, so we go ahead and click on create page, and then for the logged in page, okay, so now I'm really changing my mind, so let's turn it off. Yes, and click on start building. All right, so we just want the tutorial to be for you to learn how to implement CRUD, not for you to create login logout functionality. If at all you want to learn that, still check the description. In the description under this video, you will see a link to that tutorial. So all right, so let's go ahead and then let's just call this place CRUD. All right, so CRUD, let's say CRUD. All right, so this is the FlutterFlow dashboard for your project. All right, so and then this particular section is the app bar. All right, so the basic thing that you need to do right now is we need to create start to implement the create, read, and update functionality. So how do we create something within FlutterFlow? So let's say that we want to create a form. All right, so we'll create a form, like we'll put some text field here, and then we will put some form of submit button, and then after that we will create another page that shows a particular. Okay, so let's do it like this. Yeah, I think that's okay. So let's go ahead and come to the widget tree. This is the widget tree that shows you all the different screens. This is gonna be the screen for us to put the form. All right, so let's go ahead and then rename this page. So I click on this and then come here to, let's change it to create. Let's call this create. All right, let's call this particular screen create. Yes, so we call this screen create, and then let's create another screen that we'll call read. All right, so it's gonna be another blank screen, so we'll call this screen read. Now what do we mean by read? Let's come here and change this to read. All right, and then this particular one, let's not call it CRUD again, let's just call it create. Okay, all right, so we have create, we have read, and then in a read we will perform the delete functionality, and then I think we need to create another screen. We will call it update. Okay, so update, and that's it. Let's come here and click on this and say update. Okay, so basically we have the create, read. Inside the read there will be a button to delete things, so that will give us for delete, and then we already have here for update. Okay, so let's go ahead and set things up. Let's first of all try to create something. By creating here, I mean allowing the user to input some details that you can submit to a database. That's when you create something. Okay, and so here we click on the column section here. So this is the widget tree, and so you see here this is a column. The first one here is the scaffold. All right, so this is a column. We will click on these and then go ahead and create we will add some widgets inside here. So the widget we're going to add here is going to be let's go ahead and add a row, because inside that row we want to add a text field. Okay, so then we can now duplicate the row a couple of times. So let's add a text field inside. So I will just search for text field, and this is it. We have a text field. So our text field is spreading everywhere. So and we can't even see the outline around it, like a border or something. So how do you do that? So you just scroll down here. This is a particular section where you get to see the different properties of a particular widget. So you scroll down here. What we're looking for is the input decoration. So this is an input decoration properties. We change it from underline to outline. And if you check it, there's still nothing there, right? So you click back on the text field and then go to, we've changed it to outline, but now that outline is more like the border, right? So, but here the border doesn't have a color. It says here on set. So we need to go ahead and then click on that color, the border color, and then pick a particular color. Let's use something grayish. And then there you go, we have these now. So you see it actually has a border around itself, but we need to give some space around the text field because it's spreading across to either edges of the screen. So how do we go ahead and give some spaces? It's called padding. So you come here, add some padding on the left, 16, add some padding on the right, 16, add some padding on the top, 16. All right, then now let's look at it. Now we can see our text field is looking all good. So I'll click on the text field now, and of course, just to make it a little beautiful, so you can add a border radius. So we can give it 8 as a border radius. So this is it. I just scroll down here. Everything that has to do with the properties of this text field is found on the right hand side here. So here we have the border radius. It's all good. Let's click on it again and then change some few things. So what do we want to change? Let's go ahead and change the label text. The label text is like the title of the text field here. So let's say this is going to be for our name of the user, just name. Let's just make it a little bit detailed. So let's say first name, okay, and then we can give the hint text here, say John. All right, so this is the hint text, like what they will see. Okay, so if you click out, you see here it says the first name and then example is John. All right, so let's go ahead and then click on this entire row and duplicate it. How do you duplicate it? Control D duplicates. All right, so we have another one now, a full complete row, and it's all good. It's all good, guys. So let's click on this now and say last name. Let's change it from first name to, that's the second row, the second text field. So we say last name, okay? And let's change this to Doe. So I think it's always John Doe. So here, first name, last name, and let's say the last thing we want to put there is email address, okay? And yeah, we just want to create something. All right, so let's come here and duplicate this again, Control D, and then here we go. Let's scroll down and change it from last name to email. You can just write it in full, email address, and then here can just be jeandoe@email.com. All right, so email address. Then the next thing we just need quickly here is just to put a button which will allow us to submit, to create, to really create. Creating means putting something inside the database. All right, so here we need to go ahead and click on the column. This is the add a child to widget. This is where you click to access here, and then you click on the bottom. And then you have this bluish button here. So the field color is blue. We can just leave the colors like that. The width here is 130. Let's use 360. Okay, so it spreads across properly. And then we can give it some padding above, 16. And let's go down here and say create. All right. So guys will say create. So create here means submit this thing into the database. All right, so we have a field for create. Now, what do we go ahead and do right now? We just need to go ahead and then do something else quite really fast. We have here the field for first name, last name, and email address. Now, for you to be able to create this, you need a place where you can store it inside. And the way it works in FlutterFlow is that you need to go ahead and come to Firestore. You come here to Firestore, and then you need to create a collection. So you click here to create a collection. You click here to a collection is more like where you want to store these things inside. So let's call this place. So what do we? Let's just call it data. All right. So data, or is it data? What do we call it? Yeah, let's call it user details. All right, so let's just say details, user details. I'd like to keep it all lowercase. You can play around it, but whatever you write here has to be the same as what it looks like. You're trying to create a user collection. Would you like us to populate? No thanks. No thanks. Okay, so they thought I wanted to create a user collection because I used a keyword there called user details. So I said no thanks, of course. I'm not trying to create a user collection. I'm just trying to create something that has this collection that says user details. So we'll click here to start from scratch. We need to set up the schema. The schema is this is like the library, right? So I think we have an error here. Collection user details currently has no fields. Okay, sure. We're going to have to add some field. So now we have a form. We have a form. Let's go back to our form. This is like our form, right? So individually, these are text fields. All right. So I think the entire thing is something you could call a form. And then we have a button that when they click this, is supposed to submit all of these details inside the database for user details, right? The database called user details, and this is called a collection basically in FlutterFlow. All right, and it's also called a collection also in Firebase. Okay, so let's come back here and add the different fields, which is the first field here is our first name. So you can write it like that. First name. The data type is a string. All right. So basically, strings are just a combination of text, numbers, characters. So first name, last name is also going to be a string, and then the email is going to be a string as well. So you come here and then make it like this. All right, till you check it. So we have first name, last name, email. Now the way it works with FlutterFlow is that as you create it in FlutterFlow, you have to go ahead and also create it in Firebase. So we come back to Firebase, we go to build, and here at this point we're not really bothered about authentication, so let's go to Firestore straight. So Firestore database, that's under build. So you see a Firestore database. We need to turn it on because our details will be stored inside Firestore database. Okay, so in this particular scenario, we will be using start in test mode because it's a little bit complex to set up your security rules for starting in production mode. All right, but when you want to go live, you need to go ahead and then set up your security rules. Eventually we will have a tutorial for this, so you can check out later. All right, so start in test mode and then click on next and then click on enable. You wait for a couple of seconds. It is going to finish provisioning your Cloud Firestore for your project, and then after this we will go ahead and then go back to build and go to storage. It is expected that you turn on your Firestore and also turn on storage at the same time. So I'll do the same thing, start in test mode, next, and done. Wait for a couple of seconds, and when you're done with these two steps, then you go back to Firestore inside the Firebase here and create your collection called user details. We will do that as soon as we're done creating this default bucket and everything that it's doing. Okay, so I hope you're enjoying the tutorial already. So if you're told you are enjoying it, please just go ahead and then click on the subscribe button, like the video, drop a comment if you have one. So I think we ran into some troubles here. It has to do with maybe network or something, but just click on done and try it again. If it doesn't work, just refresh your browser it can always hit some roadblocks like this, and that's pretty okay. Okay, so let's wait for a couple of seconds for it to redo this. If it doesn't work, we will just go ahead and refresh. Okay, so let's just wait. Okay. All right, let's see. It's setting up security rules. It's taking longer than necessary, but let's just be patient to watch it finish its product process. Yeah. So I actually consider myself a very patient person, but let's do like this. All right, click and duplicate this. Okay. It's just a smart way of doing things. And then surprisingly, guys, it had finished creating the storage, but it is still loading here. So I think it's just network. So yeah, it worked. Okay, so let's go to the Firestore database, and then now we will click on start collection, and then we'll create the collection. So you give the collection a name, the same thing that you used in your FlutterFlow collection name. So we use user details. So we use the user details here. You have to make sure that it's the same spelling, or otherwise you're gonna run into some errors. So next, then click on auto ID, and then put the same the field here, the field names that you have here. All right, so we will go ahead and then put them here. First name, you don't need to put any value if you don't want to. We want to do this automatically from when the user clicks on the form, like fills the form. So here we come to last name, and then here we come to email. Did we say email or email address? We just said email. Okay, so email. So here it is. The data types are all string, and that's all good. So we can click on save. It to create one document so far, which we manually created. So it is expected that you set up the schema, the default schema, for it at least one. Okay, and of course you've also created one here. Basically you've not created one, you're just setting up the schema here, but here this is a real document, and let's just have one. Okay, so then after that, the next thing you just need to do is, let's go ahead and then go back to our widget tree and then start the create process. Okay, so how do we create? Now we create by adding an action to this button that says create. So we'll click on here and then come here to this particular section here where I'm hovering at. I click on it, it's actions. So I have to add an action to that button. What action am I going to be adding? It's called Firestore. Like the action I want to do is in Firestore. So I click on it. It says here create document. So guys, we have create, update, and delete, right? So this is where we will do our CRUD. All right. I know you've not seen read. Read is basically for you to query your backend. Okay. So let's say we click to create document. It's going to ask us to choose where we want to put this information that we want to create. So it tells us to choose a collection. So we click here, we go to user details, all right? And then it requires us to set the fields. Now this user detail has some fields, so let's go ahead and set it. So we already have 3 fields, so I'll click on add, and then add, and then add, and it finishes. So there are no other fields. Then for the first name here, I have to click on it because I need to tell it where to get the data for the first name. So I click on that, and then I don't want it to be a specific value, right? So it says the value source. Where is the information that we are getting for this first name? Where can we get it from? Is it going to be a specific value? Are you going to type it here for us? All right, so that's basically what it says here. So I don't want to type it here for them. I want it to come from a variable. So I said from variable. And then now it wants me to determine where the variable is. So I click on insert, and I go to widget state. So each of the text fields are all widgets, so they have a state. That means they have that's basically where something can be put inside them. So you click on widget state, and then you will see the different widgets that you have here. So the first one here is a field name. If you see, it's also highlighted on the screen. If I move here, it's also highlighted. It's also highlighted. It's really beautiful, right? So I'll click on the first name here. And then that simply means that whatever the user types inside here will be stored in the field name called first name. All right. Let's go to the next one. Last name. We will do the same thing. We will say not specific value, but from variable. We'll click on set, and we'll go to widget state, and we'll pick the second one, which is for last name. All right. Then we'll do the same thing for email. We'll go to specific We change it from specific to from variable. We'll click on set, and then click on widget state and click choose email address. And ladies and gentlemen, we are done setting up the create process. All right, but there's something I like doing. I like adding a snack bar. So I'll click here to open the action flow editor and add another action. This was the very first action, which is to create. This one is just something that I want to use to know, more like an alert that tells me, okay, this action was successful. So let's go ahead and click on add action, and then I'll just search here for snack bar. So I'll click here snack bar. So then here in the value, I need to just say create document created. So something like that. Let's say document successfully created. So something like that, right? Document successfully created, and that's it. Okay, so I will see it pop up here around here and say document successfully created. So now we are done with this process. Let's go ahead and taste it and see how far we've gone with our create scenario. Now it can take a couple of seconds. So you click on here and then run it. It will take like 2 to 3 minutes for it to completely run, depending on your machine, depending on your network speed and all of that. So while we are waiting for it to run this particular step that we have finished, instead of waiting for it to like finish before we continue the next thing, which would take some time, a couple of minutes. So let's just go ahead and then move to the next thing. Now we need to go to, what is it called? We need to go to the next screen, which is for read. The thing that we have created here, we can't see it except we go to, I mean, when we finally create it and test it, we can see what we have created except we go to Firestore database and check it. So, but that's not the idea for making a mobile application. Users are supposed to be able to see what they create, if at all the app is supposed to help them see what they create. All right. I'm using a lot of the keywords here because that's basically like the idea, so you can understand. All right, but I'm sure that you already understand where these things can be applied. So I have the button here. I have to go ahead and click on column here and then add another button. So the button here is going to be, let me call it, let it still be 360. And this button is going to be see user details, something like that. So let's scroll down and change it from button to see created documents. Let's call it like that, guys. Created documents. I just want to use the keyword so you understand. So it has finished running the very first test, so we will check it. So hold on a second. Let's do something around this. Here I don't want this to have the fill color, so I will click to give it maybe white, like this. Okay, so then I will go ahead and scroll down. I need to look for a border color. Let's look for the border color. Where is the border color? Okay, here it is. I need to give it a color. Let's call it, let's make the border color blue. Okay, and then let's give it some padding from the top. Let's say 16. Why is it like this? Why is it small? Button, oh, this is button padding. Let's go up a bit and then say 16. Okay, so like this works. Let's go ahead and change the text color to from white to blue. Okay, and that's, there you go. So we have C created document. So now what is it gonna do? When we click on this, let's add another action. We want it to just navigate to, so I click on actions and then click on add action. I want the user to be able to navigate from this screen. So we'll go to navigate to and say go to read. So the next screen is to read. All right, so you can create give your screens different names depending on your project, but I'm using the keywords for this particular scenario. Okay, so I definitely know that you understand what I'm doing. I am believing you do. Because it's really self-explanatory, right? So here, this is how our form looks like. We can just go ahead and then create it now. This is the application that we just created, really simple. So this is a create screen. So let's just say my name is David, all right? My first name is David, and then my last name is Org, okay? And then my email, let's just say it's davidorg@gmail.com. Okay, so that's like it. No, Gmail. No, that's not what I meant. I meant Gmail. Okay, so then I can go ahead and click on create. So I will click on create. Something is going to pop up here. Document successfully created. It will last for a couple of seconds, then it will fade off. Good. Now nothing happens, right? So we don't know whether a document has been created or not, right? So now we don't see this yet because we have not run that new version of it. All right, so let's go to our database and see. This is a new document that has been created and it carries the details that I just put inside. Now we have successfully implemented one scenario called create. Okay, let's go ahead and then create the next scenario, which is read. So we go to read, the read screen. What we are going to do here is we need to capture the data here. All right, we want to capture the data here. And so how do we do it? Let's go ahead and make it, how do we do it? Let's go ahead and just capture the information here, like to read it. So we'll just read one file. Now we've created, we will read, then after that we will delete, and then we'll create again. Okay, like that. We'll just be running around it and all of that. So now let's go ahead and check it out. For us to read something, read in FlutterFlow, it means query the backend. So we will click on the column here, and I will go here to where we have backend query. You click on it, and then you click on add backend query. So before we do this, guys, let's go ahead and just give some places. Let's put some information here. All right, so by information I mean let's give a placeholder, because for you to be able to query your backend, you need some placeholders that you will use in getting out the things that you stored inside your database. So I'll click on the column, and then I'll click on a row. I'll click on the row. In the row I will add okay, let's do it like this. Let's Control Z. In the column I will go ahead and let's say hold on, let me think. Let's put it inside a container. All right, let's create a container here. Let's make the container 390. Okay, so it spans the entire screen. And then this container, let's give this container a color that is not white, but maybe slightly like this. Okay, it's not so obvious. Let's go ahead and then give it something a little bit obvious, more obvious. Okay, something like this. All right, so let's give it some padding from the top. Let's say 16. Okay, so 16. Now let's give it some padding. Okay, so we have this container. Let's go ahead and add something, guys. I want us to be able to create a list of like to be able to read a list of things. We will be creating lots of things in the database, so I want us to get a list out of it. So let's go ahead and click on here to put something called list view. So list view is what you use in creating a list, like showing a list of things. All right, so we will show here a list view. I just put it inside. Then inside this list view, I'm going to now go ahead and create what is it called? Let's go ahead and create a row. Yes, let's create a row for this. And is it a row? Should we do a row? Should we not do a row? So a row. Okay, so I think it's okay like this. Or should we put it inside a column? Since we'll be stacking it from top to bottom. Yes, right. I think that's the idea. Let's click on this list view and then add a column inside the list view. All right, guys, good. So then we can go ahead and then add a row inside it. Okay. All right, so this is basically me going a little bit into design, but I hope you get to understand it. Row, then inside the row I need to add the text. So here is going to be the text for the first name. All right, so we just say first name. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this row. Let's first of all click on the column and then push things a little bit into the inside. So push it inside, then click on give it padding on top like this. So I hope this is good. Okay, so I'll click on this and duplicate it, Control D. Since it's inside the column, it's stacked from top to bottom. I'll click on first name and change it to last name. I duplicated it. Then I'll click on this particular row again and say Ctrl D, and then this is going to be for email. All right, so we have email. All right, guys, so these are all static things, right? So we want to be able to produce this thing from the backend, like get it out of the database. All right, so how do we do it? That's the way we do reading. So we click on the column now and then go to add a backend query. If we do it like that, that works, but we're not going to query the column. Let's query the list view, all right? Because we wanted to show a list of things that we have in the database, okay? So we click to query the list view. So this is a list view. And then we will click on the backend here, the backend here, basically that's what it is, and then add a backend query. We'll say query type. So how do you want to query it? Is it query collection? So there are different ways to read things, so I wouldn't really go into detail, but let's just use the very first one, which is called query collection. So you click on query collection. What collection do you want to query? Okay, so we will say user details. All right, and then do you want just one document or a list of documents? So we just want a list of documents in this scenario because we use a list view. In other scenario, you would have just put a row and then put your text inside and then still get just one document. Okay, so you can test that around too. And then after that, I'll click on confirm and then confirm. So funny enough, it didn't produce it the way I am supposed to have it. What did I say? Let's say Ctrl Z, click on this. I think it didn't work the way I wanted it to work. Did I not choose the right thing? List of documents, confirm, confirm. Whoa, what just happened? Okay, it's not giving me the details I want the way I want it. So this is the container and this is the list view. Okay. It's not querying it the way I want it to query it. So let's go to this container and the height of the container, let's say infinite. No. Okay, so I think there's a small challenge. Let's click on this and let me spread this across. Okay, so I think this was the issue. The container's length is supposed to be expanded, right? I'm supposed to, should I use this? Yes. So basically I needed to just turn on the expansion here to go vertical. All right, yeah, it should have gone vertical. So that's just the idea, like that's the mistake I made. So let's go ahead and see how we can do. This is the entire container, and here we can decide to change the color of this if we want, but no problem. If you observe what is happening, this is the first one here, and then this is the ones that we'll just keep showing. Like when we keep adding data inside it, it will just keep showing. Okay, so we've queried it. The next thing we need to do is come to first name. All right, we come to first name and then come to the icon here for this particular for the text. Click on it, go to user details and say first name. So it will now be getting information from the database, no longer static, because initially we just typed it in. Let's come here, click on the last name and click on the icon here and also say user details and say last name, and then click on the next one, say email, click on the icon here, go to user details and say email. All right, so like this, now we will be able to get data from our database. So I think with this we can just go ahead and run it while we implement the next step in the process. So we will go ahead and say we run it. So we will wait for that to turn up. Okay, so what are we supposed to do next? We've done create, read. The next thing we're supposed to do is update and then delete. Okay, so we can do update and delete simultaneously. All right, so let's click on the row here and put an icon for edit and icon for delete. So let's click here and okay, we should have done that ever since at the beginning, so we just duplicated once, but it's okay, we'll just have to do it now. Click on this and then say search for icons. So we say icon and okay. All right, so I think what we just need to do is we just need to put for one. We don't need to put for all, just one is okay. Yeah, so let's go ahead and say Yeah, let's put an icon there. So the icon here is come here to settings out, set this particular place and change it from setting our line icon to let's say edit. So if you search for edit, you see something like this, and this is okay for real. And then let's add another icon there. Let's click add a child to widget, search for icon again, and then we add another icon. And so we have click here to change it from this to delete. So we have this bean icon. So we can go at our application has finished running, we will check it. Let's go ahead and then space this. All right, so let's click on it to say space. So it's gonna spread them across like this. Okay, so I will click on this particular icon and give it some padding from the right, say 16. All right, and then this particular one, I will click on it and give it some padding on the left, say 50. I want to take it very close to the delete button, so let's say 150. It's still not enough. Let's say 250. Okay, that's too much. So let's say 210. All right, so we have here. So that is it. We have one for edit, one for delete, and that's it. So it also duplicates itself here because we are using a list view to show everything. Let's check out what we have done here successfully. Now, if we go to create document, see created document, we click here, we will see the document that we created. So this shows you David, that's the first name, last name, and this, right? So if you want to like make it a little bit nicer than this, I will show you, but let's just leave it like this for now. Let's implement this, or can we still do it? Let's click on this and say come here and say, just click on this again, and instead of this, come here to something called combine text. So you want to put a text and another thing entirely, so click on combine text. The first one here will be the first name. All right, so you put here and space, then add another text, and then that's where we now go to choose the user details for first name. Okay, so like that we are good with this. So it's going to show first name and the value. So let's click on this and then click on this and go to click on this to edit it, go to combine text. The second one here says last name, this, and then add the second text, which is supposed to be from database. So click on this, go to user details and say last name. Okay guys, good. Then let's go to email. All right, so then let's click on this, go to click on the edit icon, go to combine text and say email, and then come to add text, then click on this icon here, go to user details and then email. All right guys, so we're good. Okay, so basically what it's going to help us do is now, you're going to put first name before this value, last name before this value, and then email before this. So just makes it a little bit neater. Okay, so I don't know, do you like the way this goes? Well, let's just leave it. We're not looking at the design, we just want to do CRUD. Okay guys, you can refer to other tutorials to see how we make things more beautiful. Okay, so here we have done this. The next thing we need to do is give this icon some, how do I put it? Okay, so let's do some editing. Okay, so the editing is what we will call update. Yeah, the editing is what we're gonna call update. We will say for us to be able to edit what we have here, we need to be able to transfer this information to the other screen and then update it from there. So let's come to update. This is the update screen. So when we click on update, it's supposed to take us to the other screen. All right, and then we will say let me see. Okay, let's go ahead and see how we can create this. We will click on add action and then click on like basically add action. It will say navigate to it is going to be to navigate to update. Then we need to pass information from this particular screen to another screen. All right, now because we need to be able to update it that way. All right, so let's go ahead and then pass information from here to the next screen. So we'll click on define. All right, so we need to define. give it some parameters. So we come here and then we will say user ref. All right, so this is basically like we're going to query something from reference now. Initially we were just doing normal backend query. So then reference, then what kind of query type are we looking at doing eventually? So we'll be doing document from reference, collection type, user details. So we say confirm, it brings us back here. Then we need to pass that information now to that page. So we just set up some things, now we need to pass it. So we click on user ref, click on insert, and then go to user details and reference and confirm. Now we've successfully passed information to that page. Now we need to go catch it, then display it, and then update it. Let's go to the update screen. The delete part is quite simple. It's just to delete. So we come here to the update part and we need to catch it. So we click on the, we're not just going to catch it. We need to have, what is it called? So here guys, we have, for this particular part, we have some things here. So let's go ahead and just duplicate this and rename it to update. All right. No, that's going to cost us some trouble. Yes, so let's just go back here and let's do it. All right, there's no problems. So add put a row, and then in the row we will put some text field. All right, let's do it. Text field. Okay, so in the text field, let's go ahead and just do what we've been doing. Let's give it padding here. Says 16 on the right, 16 on the tab, here 16 as well. This right didn't work, so 16 on the right. Then let's scroll down and give it the name. The hint text here will be Jean, and then here will be first name. So we don't need a hint text, right? So let's take out the hint text. So first name, then let's give it a border radius of 8. Change the input decoration to outline. All right, I think we give the border color this, and okay. All right guys, we're good. So let's duplicate this row, Control D, and again. All right, then let's click on this column to add a button for update. So add a button there, scroll down, change it to update. Okay, so now we have the second to the last item. Then let's increase this width to 360. Okay, and then let's go here and put some padding on the top for this. So update. So here let's change it from first name to last name. Then let's come here and change it from first name here. You know, we were just duplicating it to email. All right guys, okay, so now when we click on that, it will come here, and then we can catch the let's see if we can catch it. Let's see if we can catch the information inside this field, first name label text. So let's catch it, but before we catch it, we need to catch the things inside. Let's click on the column here and then do a backend query. So we click on backend query, add backend query. Query type is going to be document from reference this time around, not the very first one, querying a collection. Okay, because we're transferring data from somewhere we've already queried. So we want to reference that particular page we already queried. Okay, so we will go ahead and come to collection and say user details. Okay, so here we will now go ahead and say I think this is where we pick this and say confirm and confirm. Okay guys, so we've queried this. Now we need to catch it, like show it, make it appear. So we'll click here on the first name scenario, then let's go to where we're supposed to write the first name. So instead of just having the first name, we need to show the real name of the user, or what the detail that the user wants to edit. So we'll come here to user documents and say that place is for first name. All right, so that's the first name will show here. Then for here we will say show the last name. So we'll click here, go to users document and say last name, and for here we will say click here, show the user details, then go to email. Now we have got those details. We need to go ahead and then update it. So let's click here. All right, we click here and then we will say update. Right, let's see. Okay, so here we will click on this, go to action and say add an action, and we go to Firestore and then we say update document. So we say update document, where select the reference to update. So we want to select the reference, it's the user ref that we want to update. So we put it like that and say confirm. It's gonna ask us to select the detail, the field, add the field. So we'll click here again and again. So for the first name, where we're taking the information from that we want to use and update the user ref. Okay, so say we don't want it to come from specific value but from variable. So where is the variable? We can find it in the widget state, and it says here first name. Okay, so we put it there. For last name, the same thing, from specific value to from variable. We click on this and then go to the widget state and then say last name. Okay, then we go to create email, the email part, not specific value but from variable. Click on insert and go to widget state and then choose email. All right guys, we're done. And then just like you know how I do it, I'll click to add a snack bar. So I'll click to add another action, and that's going to be a snack bar that says details updated. So snack bar, it will say details updated. Okay, so that's it. All right, so let's go ahead and test what we have done so far. All right, so this is it. And okay, so let's go ahead and then test it. So I will click on this to run it. And yeah, so I needed you to see. So we've done for create, read, and update. The next thing we need to do is delete. Delete is quite simple, and then we're done with the tutorial. I hope you're learning a lot. You can click on the like button if you like the video already, and you can click on the subscribe button as well and notification icon, so that whenever we have videos, you can just be reminded to check it out. Okay, so now that we are done with that, let's go ahead and go to the last one. Let's go back to the read screen. So I think this screen is not so nice for me, right? Yeah guys, I feel it's not really as nice as it should be. I'm thinking about what to do. So I will go ahead and then click on this list view, no, the column itself, or should I say the row. Okay, these are individual row. Let's go to column, and then in this column let me add a container. So I'll add a container below. Don't worry, we just want to give the container a width of 360, and then I want to give it a height of 1 pixel, and then I want to give it a black color. All right, so I'm just giving the container a black color. Okay, so something like that. And let's see, let's give the container, and then let's give the container some padding from, that's the, yeah. All right, so I don't really like this grayish color, the color of the container. I don't know if you like it, but I will just remove it from that to I'll just clear the color. Okay, so like this is finer for me. I feel this is neater. All right, okay, so and permit me to run it again, but we will still test it from what we've done before. So this is what has finished running. Let's just check a look at it. All right, so here we have created, we have already created documents, and meanwhile let's create another document. Let's say my name is no longer David, my name is now Davids, and then Orox. Okay, and then it's gonna be Davids Orox at gmail.com. Good. And then I'll click on create. Okay, so it creates another document successfully created. See created document. Now you see that I have, oh, a lot of things are scattered a little bit there. So now you see it created another document for me. It says this is the first one, David, that I did. Then this is the empty one that we created that first time. And then here it has I think the reason why it pushes around like this is also following the size of the screen. It's using the size of the text. Yeah, it's using the size of the text, right? That's the thing. So I'm thinking I shouldn't have put it here since it's always expanding. I should have put it somewhere else. Okay, so but let's go ahead and just click on it. So if we click on this, it brings us here, right? So we want to change the other field, which is this. I want to change this David to John, and then from this to Doe, and then from here to johndoe@gmail.com. So I'll click here and say John. All right, so you see here it was formerly David, so here I'm going to change it to Doe. All right, then here I'm going to change it to johndoe@gmail.com, and then I'll click on update, wait for a couple of seconds, and details updated. Now if I go back, you see here it changes it from what it was before to now John Doe and everything. It's just perfect, right? So I think the only thing here is just this design. All right, so we'll try to adjust that in our next run. Okay, so so here let's see how we can adjust this. Basically how we can adjust it is let me think. Let's go ahead and click on this and duplicate it. All right, yes, let's just duplicate it. Okay, so this is this part. Let's delete this icon here, then delete this one here, and then delete this one here. All right, and then here let's give it let's come here and change the padding to 0, and then here, okay, that's okay. Let's click this, the whole of the row, and say we want them to go this other direction. All right, so maybe give it a little space in between, so let's say 4. All right, so the icon here for delete should go for red, and the reason why I did that is so that the name can stretch alone. This one doesn't need to stretch. All right, yeah. Okay, so we have this, we can run it. Before we run it, let's go ahead and just do the delete icon. So we click on the delete, go to the, what is it called? Let's go to add an action, click on add an action, go to Firestore and set delete. So select reference that you want to delete. I click on this and then pick the reference. It's basically going to be the user details and the reference here, and then confirm. All right, so that's like the idea. Deleting is quite simple. Okay guys, so we're done with our tutorial. We just need to go ahead and run it, and then that will be the end of our sessions here. So let me close this ones that we did before, and so far if you come to the database, and you will see the different things that we've done here. So this was the first one that was empty. I will delete this so you can see it. So let's just wait for this to finish running, and then that's it. I hope you got value for your time and time watching this tutorial, and I hope it gives you like an introductory background, a little bit advanced, a little bit, to understand how to do your create, read, update, and delete functionality within your FlutterFlow application. Okay, so in a short time from now, you will be able to see how the application goes. So let's just do one thing on the side. If this is your first time and you don't really know much about FlutterFlow, you can come to, for you to run this application and have a link to it that you can show your friends or something, you can just come here to the settings part, go to platforms, and then turn on the web publishing. All right, and then come back to web publishing here, and then click here to publish your application to the web. It will provide you with a link you can share with anyone to use the application, and it will work in real time. Okay, so I'm going to click to publish this, and I just wanted to show you that since we are waiting for this to finish running. Now we are done with this, we can just look at how our application looks like. I think now it should look much more prettier. So let's add another detail. Let's say Naomi John, and let's say Naomi John at gmail.com, and then we create. Okay, so document successfully created. See created documents. Now it looks a little bit neater, guys. It looks like it. So now we have first name John, last name Doe, then we have our rocks Davids, we have Naomi here. All right, so we can click. This is the very first one that we created, the sample, so we can just click to delete it, let it go. Okay, so we made that go. So our delete is working, it's gone. If you check here in the database, it's gone too. So this is the only real data that we have. Okay, so we can go ahead and then delete, rename. I don't like the way the name is here, so let me take it back to my name. So I'll click it here and then change it to David. All right, and then rock, and then David rock at gmail.com, and then I click to update and details updated. I will go back and then my details are updated. All right guys, so it was really nice having you here. I hope you get to check all the tutorials on this YouTube channel and keep practicing to understand how to use FlutterFlow to build your amazing application. For what I showed you earlier, we're done publishing our application to the web, so you can click here to see your application run successfully on the web. All right, so this is it. It stretches across because that's just how it is. It was built for mobile. So if you want to see how it looks like in your mobile view, you can just punch the F12 key or function F12, however it works on your system, and then you will see it like this. So you can test your application. We can go ahead and then just say Jeff Bezos. Let's click on this and say Jeff Bezos, right? And then say Jeff Bezos at Gmail at Amazon.com. Okay, so then you can click on create email. Basically create. So document successfully created, and then you can say see created documents, and this is it. We have Jeff Bezos and all is good. So who do you want to take out of here? I think we take out John Doe. All right, and then we can take out myself as well. We can take out now me and possibly leave Jeff Bezos there. All right guys, see you in the next tutorial. Thank you very much.